This is Amateur Logic number 136 for November 15th, 2019. This episode of Amateur Logic is brought to you by MFJ, the world leaders in ham radio accessories at MFJenterprises.com, and by Icom. Wish it, wrap it, gift it, step up your gift-giving game this year, and get your favorite ham, the transceiver, at the top of their list. Icom. Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Amateur Logic. I'm George.
I'm Tommy.
I'm Emile.
And I'm Mike, D3MIC.
Well, how is the moose, Mike? Have you let the moose in yet?
I haven't seen or heard from the moose yet this year, or at least in the fall, since the fall anyway. But it's been pretty cold here, especially Wednesday. I got up for work, left for work Wednesday morning, and it was minus 21 C, which is about minus 5.8 Fahrenheit, I think it is.
Oh, wow.
So, but today was a lot more mild. It was right around the freezing mark today, and it made it feel like it was so warm today because of the difference a couple of days can make between, minus double digits and zero. So
that's balmy.
Yeah.
In comparison. Well, we've got a fun show lined up for you tonight. A lot of, varied topics, except for, and I won't give it away yet, but Emile and I it was like synchronicity, wasn't it? Neither one of us knew what the other one were doing, and we got not exactly the same, but complementary segments to show you tonight.
It must have been something in the ionosphere or propagation, some kind of ducting with the cold, because we hooked up some kind of way.
It's just some kind of synchronization, some perfect timing going on there.
I feel kind of left out because I've actually got a similar project on my to-do list.
Yeah.
If I'd have known, could have done it.
But we didn't. That wouldn't have been fair. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get on into it tonight. And I've got an email here for you to get us kicked off. This comes from our friend Elliot, K1MF, and we've heard from Elliot here before.
Oh, yeah.
Elliot says he was surprised to see that you could find these fine Radio Shack Christmas albums available on the internet at various websites and vendors. And as far as the Radio Shack Battery of the Month Club went, he always got the 9-volt battery because that's the one that powered his prized 6-transistor GE pocket radio. Good memories. Cheers.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah, Elliot, I remember that album. Do you remember that album, Mike? I'm sure you've probably seen it before.
I don't remember that one. I remember the ones. What was it? Arthur Fiedler, the composer or the conductor.
Gosh, that's a name I haven't
he
heard.
was on the front album cover of a couple, I think. But I don't remember that one.
You know, this one looks almost like an album cover that could have appeared here in a recent Christmas episode or something.
It does.
Sort of like it. Different artists.
Except they don't look like they're made out of chocolate.
No, no, they don't. Well, thanks for that, Elliot. A lot of fun. And it's getting close to that time of year. It's just before Thanksgiving here, and it's just after Veterans Day. That's why we're flying the colors out here on the table tonight. Yeah. Mike, when do you have Thanksgiving up there, don't you? Or a similar holiday?
Yeah, we've had it. Ours is before Halloween in October, and I'm thankful for that because I would hate to have Thanksgiving, especially with the weather being so unpredictable this time of year in November. It makes it hard for folks to get around to see family members and such. So, yeah, it's kind of a good idea that they decided. I think it's one of the few holidays that doesn't match up with the U.S. holidays. But yeah, I'm glad ours is in October. It's more festive because the leaves are in their fall colors and they're just starting to fall on the ground. And right now I've got 4 inches of white stuff on the ground, so even if the leaves were there, you wouldn't see them anyway.
Yeah, true. So it's about prime weather for antenna work.
It's funny you mention that because I had a number of antenna projects to get done, including installing a discone antenna, which got postponed due to wasps or hornets. I'm not sure which. Didn't get that close to find out, but they were buzzing around where the mount was for the discone, so it never got put up. And also, I was going to put up another 50-foot mast, but that never got done because the weather turned sour on me before I could get everything done. I was focusing on getting yard work, and speaking of yard work, I didn't even get the annual maintenance on the mowers. They're put away, but I didn't get pulling the batteries out of them or anything like that. So it hit everybody by surprise up here, and I think even down there with the cold weather you got, it surprised everyone.
Yeah, it has warmed up a lot in the last couple of days. And now the weather we have here is about what we should have in January.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really early coming this year. Maybe we'll get a little reprieve in the coming weeks here, but I don't know.
I think we might have some other synchronicities going on here, George, because he just mentioned he put up a discone.
Oh, yeah?
And I did the same thing. Like when it was around 60, 50 degrees out, I had taken my discone down for field day this year, and I never put it back up. It was leaning against the fence. I did the same thing, Mike. So maybe we have some ducting going on between us.
Yeah, let's see, 50 or 60 degrees Fahrenheit. That's like minus 30 Celsius, isn't it?
Yeah, it
feels like it in the South. Yeah. Okay, well, let's get on into the segments tonight. Tommy, you run across a project here. I'm kind of envious of it that I didn't find it first.
Yeah, I just kind of stumbled across it just by looking around. It's pretty cool. It's not something I needed, but it's something I think a lot of people may need. So let's take a look. Every now and then I like to just kind of scan through the library manager in the Arduino IDE, and I found one called Frequency Counter. It caught my attention, and after doing a little bit of research on it, a very little bit of research because it's so easy to use, I see that you can turn an ordinary Arduino into a frequency counter. Now I've got an oscilloscope here, so I don't really need this, but I thought some of you guys may want to be able to use it. So anyway, let's take a look at it and see. To demo, I'm going to use my little frequency generator, my little cheap one I got off of Amazon or eBay, and then I'm going to go ahead and show you that the frequency is correct. So on the oscilloscope, so I've got running a sine wave at 15 kilohertz. So let me hook it up to my scope. And just for the sake of being fast, I'll hit auto setup. And you can see I've got a nice clean sine wave. It shows 14.9999 kilohertz. Now if I change this, you can see it change on the screen. So that's 28 kilohertz. Go down to, there's 6 kilohertz, so forth. So you see that it is working. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Arduino. So we're through with the scope for right now. I went ahead and I put my Arduino on a board with a display so that you can see. I've got this little 4 by 20 or 20 by 4 I2C display. For the Arduino for this project, I'm using a little Nano that I got off of, I think I got off of Amazon for like $12 or something like that. So they're real cheap. And for power, I'm just going to power it off of my little Radio Shack clearance USB battery, just for making things simple. So let's go ahead and hook it up. And it's powering up, and you can see the display is upside down, but powering up. Okay, it says frequency counter, and it's got a little bit of floating going on there until I hook something up to it. 37 hertz, 6 hertz, so forth. Let's look how this is hooked up. So I just followed the standard instructions for my display, and I hooked it up to the power from my display to the 5 volts out on my Arduino, my ground to the ground, and the 2 other SDA and SCL lines to the appropriate ones, A5 and A4. So look at your pin out for your Arduino for that if you want to use a display. I've also got two leads here hooked up to my Arduino. One is on pin 5, digital 5. That's the one that the library is hard-coded to read from. And then the other one is hooked up to another ground on the Arduino. So let's connect it to my signal generator here, and let's see what we get. Let's go ahead and hook up to digital 5 to the red lead on my signal generator and the black one to the ground. And I've got 17 kilohertz on my signal generator, and I've got 17.014 hertz, which would be 17 kilohertz on my display. It's so easy to use. This is a 5 volt Arduino, so you're going to need to be careful not to run more than 5 volts in, or you're going to blow one of the pins on your Arduino. If we look back at my Arduino here, if I change the frequency, let's go to, there's 12 kilohertz. You can see it's going 12, 12010. 9 is going to be 9007, or 8 is flopping back and forth. That's very accurate. And this is like a $3 to $4 Arduino, and that's really all you've got to have. If you don't have a display, you can use the serial monitor on your computer on your Arduino IDE to look at the data like that. There's this example for the library that comes with that, so that you could basically load that example and run it right off the bat. So it's so easy. Let's take a look at the code just so you can see how easy it is. To install the library, go to Tools, Manage Libraries. Freak count right here is the one that we're using. So just find that, click Install, and you'll be good to go. You can see I already have it. So let's go ahead and cancel that. Our code's really simple. We're just going to include the liquid crystal display library for my little display that I'm using. Now that's not totally necessary. Here's the initialization line and the address of my display and the resolution of it, 20 characters wide by 40 lines high. We're going to include the freak count library header, which is one we just installed. Initialize the LCD, turn on the backlight for the LCD, set the cursor, print the header, and then we're going to turn on the frequency count library so we can begin. 1000 is the default for that, and you should use that because that means your frequency is going to be scaled in a 1-to-1 hertz in hertz like I just showed you on mine. But if you want to do it differently, you can change this factor and show it in kilohertz, megahertz, however you want to, but you can do that by playing with this value here. We begin our loop. If the frequency count dot available is true, then let's go in here and read the frequency, return it as an unsigned long, set the cursor position, and print it. Now I had to put an empty string and cast the count as a string to get it to show on mine. Otherwise I got some garbage, so that's what that's about. But then I just put HZ for hertz afterwards. And that's the only thing in the code. It's so simple. Almost forgot to mention, I've tried this on an Arduino Pro Mini. It worked great. I've tried it on the Arduino Nano. It worked great. I tried it on my Arduino Uno. I could not get it to work on my Uno. Now, I don't know if I've got something wrong with it or if it's just not compatible. The Uno is listed on the website, as you can see, but I could not get it to work. you got to admit that's pretty easy and it's really cheap. So if you need a frequency counter, get yourself one of the little cheap Arduinos and you should be in business. Now, keep in mind there are two libraries. One is frequency counter, one's frequency measure. They're by the same guy. Now, the frequency counter uses the higher frequencies, but if you want to go and measure like audio level frequencies, you just need to use the other library. It's optimized for the lower frequencies for that. But anyway, I hope you find it useful, and maybe this will help some of you guys out with some of your projects in the future. 73. In relative terms, it was fairly accurate for a $4 Arduino, but you can actually fudge that, and hone it in closer if you have a good reference that you can set it to.
Oh yeah.
So you can change the value and pad it in your code really easy.
Yeah, for what it is, it's pretty awesome.
If you don't have one at all, it's not bad.
Yeah. Yep.
What's the range, Tommy? That was cool. Like frequency-wise, what's the range?
It depends on which one of the libraries you use. If you use the frequency measure, I forget exactly, but it goes up pretty high. Frequency measure is down more like in the audio range, and then the frequency count one library was higher. I think it was. I can't remember. I should have looked it up before, but the link's out there for it. It's listed on the site.
Yeah. Speaking of links, whenever we're doing a show here, we've got a chat room going on at the same time. When we're live, it's AmateurLogic.TV/chat.
That was a nice segue into there, by the way.
Well, somebody said link, and I said I can tie that in somehow. So there, we forgot to mention it earlier.
Yeah, if you're watching a live show and you're not in the chat room, you're missing half the fun. It's kind of like going to the Magic Kingdom. You just kind of have to say it.
I'm waiting on Emile. He got close to the mic.
Which half, Tommy?
There you go. Well, that's up to you.
Well, what are we going to do next here tonight? Emile, being that you've got the microphone all warmed up and fuzzy there, have you got a post or something you'd like to share with us tonight that I accidentally did not get before the show?
That's okay. You're good, because it's not really a post. It's just another unfortunate episode of dog chewed ham hats.
Oh wow!
I don't know what it is with my Weimaraner, but they just seem to have an affinity and a love for my ham hat. No matter where I put them and hide them, I don't know if it's the material. I swear to it that Tommy's loading those AmateurLogic hats with dog treats or something. But now that they've attacked one of my other stashes from a ham fest, I'm starting to think something else is going on here. So that's what I got for this time.
We've been sending you the gravy scented ones, like Mike has mentioned.
Yeah.
Well, I got a deal. It was free. The gravy scent must have been free, right?
Yeah.
The first taste is free.
It keeps you being a return customer.
I'll tell you what, it's going to keep some of the ham fests in business, because I'm going to go into the hat business.
Wow. Well, we'll be back in just a moment, but first let's get a message from MFJ. After months of extensive development and testing, it's finally here and ready to take remote operation to another level. The new RigPi Station Server from MFJ and Howard Nurse W6HN is going to change the way you think about getting on the air. Why be bound by the four walls of your ham shack when you can take it with you wherever you go? The MFJ-1234 RigPi lets you operate from anywhere you have an internet connection on your Apple or Android mobile device, iPad, tablet, Kindle, laptop, or desktop computer without additional hardware. Just fire up any web browser and get on the air. RigPi connects to most any transceiver with cat control. Operate single sideband, CW, AM, FM, digital, or any mode your radio supports. Operate your rotor, CW keying, digital modes, logging, spot monitoring, call book lookups, and more. 32 user-programmable macros let you control the features you want. 2 or more hams from different locations can operate different radios at the same time using a single RigPi. The MFJ-1234 Raspberry Pi's Raspbian operating system comes with many free programs installed, like FT8, RIDI, WSJTX, FLDigi, a word processor, Emile, and spreadsheet. Plus, thousands of Linux-based programs, including many for ham radio, are available. The RigPi Station Server is available as separate modules, allowing you to customize it a piece at a time, or get the complete unit with RigPi base, OS firmware, audio board, and CW keyer board. The RigPi audio board connects to your radio and serves send and receive audio to your mobile device, or use it to operate digital modes like FT8 and FLDigi. It includes IQ inputs for use in pen adapters and has built-in isolation transformers for RF and hum-free audio. The keyer board generates perfect Morse code using the popular K1EL WinKeyer chip. Just connect your favorite pedal. Software modules for RigPi will be available on GitHub as a free open-source download, so you can add your own features in the future. Get your MFJ-1234 RigPi today and take your remote operation to the next level. MFJ, the world leaders in ham radio accessories at MFJenterprises.com. We're going to give away a RigPi Station Server here just a little bit later in the show.
Yep. Got one lucky winner.
Yep. We'll have that a little later. You had a follow-up here.
Yeah, Emile asked about the range for the library for the Arduinos. Depending on your Arduino, from 1 kilohertz up to 8 megahertz, depending on your Arduino. And then the frequency measure library I mentioned is 0.1 hertz to 1 kilohertz.
Oh, that
covers a lot
of
of
low stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a totally different library, but it works very similar.
Maybe we should go to a Hamfest. We haven't been to one of those.
I haven't been to one in a good
recently.
while. I'm past due.
Mike, can you hook us up?
Sure can. I always look forward to this one every year. So it's kind of at the right time after Labor Day, after our Thanksgiving. And the weather's not generally too bad. So I always look forward to this one. And it's not too close to Christmas, so you usually have a little cash in your pocket still.
That's important.
Mike V3MIC here. It's Saturday, November 2nd, and I'm at the 43rd York Region Hamfest in Markham, Ontario. On the right, you can see Radio World. Wow, what a crowd. Now
Please
this is
come
going to be tough to
immediately
get around.
to the ticket table. Thank you.
Our first stop is the Honest Bob Morton's Maple Leaf Communications booth, where, as the sign says, waving money will get my attention. Bob certainly is a regular at all the larger Hamfests, including Hamvention. Now there's a Canadian. You can tell because he's still wearing shorts in November. Seems like we're headed down Powell Street. For those of you who have ever walked down Powell Street in San Francisco, you'll know what I'm talking about. Some classic radios and test gear. Speaking of classic, I spotted a pair of Heathkit hi-fi gear that I have never seen before, and I had to stop and take a look. There's the ever-present Radio Amateurs of Canada, displaying back issues of their bi-monthly TCA magazine. Over here, there were several tables selling vintage radio parts, like these transmitting tubes. If it's good enough for Lieutenant Uhura, it's good enough for you. Excuse me, pardon me. Hi, how's the wife and kids? Panel meters, switches, and the most Nixie tubes that I have ever seen at a flea market. More vintage radios and test equipment. Here's the power pole guy with a good assortment of power connectors, cables. ARRL handbooks. Oh look, a 6-meter amplifier. I could use one of those to work with neighbors. Classic analog multimeters. Spools and spools of primary wire. The incoming QSL card bureau. Hello, ladies. More vintage test gear and vacuum tubes. Even more test gear, some honking air variable capacitors, coax cable, Motorola DMR mobile radios and HTs, more test gear, some TNCs, classic Swan HF rig, a 350 I think. Well, that's all the video. I had to stop and shop at these tables. One was selling all kinds of small audio amplifier and voltage regulator kits, and nicely made J-pole antennas. PCboard.ca had all kinds of LEDs, including small 0 to 30 volt LED panel meters. They also had Arduino protoboards and kits. Lastly, I couldn't resist buying one of these Node MCU IoT experimenter kits.
I don't know. It looks like Emile approves it.
You know what? I was thinking if we got a couple of minutes, maybe we should go through my score from the Hamfest, and we can verify that it is indeed COM compliant.
Okay, that sounds good.
Are you up for this, Emile?
I got my ledger.
Okay.
In case you've been bad.
All right. What do we got on the list here? Okay. We've got a coax stripper, $6. COM compliant or non-COM compliant?
I'm compliant.
Okay. S-meter, free, from the free box.
Okay, that one wins the prize.
I got to take this one out of the package. I needed one of these for a power supply that I had built. And it's I don't know if you can see this. It's not lit up right now, but it's a 3-digit LED voltage counter, or a voltage meter, I should say, and $4.
I'll have to leave that one on the check mark over here.
Oh, did I mention it covers 0 to 30 volts?
Okay. Put it up to the right. Go ahead.
This one's still in the package, but what it is, it's a little voltage converter module. It's buck or boost, and it handles 5 amps.
Oh,
$5.
There you go.
it's $1 an amp. Yeah, that's
It's not bad.
Now this one might be riding the line a little bit. I needed one of these for a late birthday gift that I bought, and you can see it's still in the package, unused. But it's not the fancy one, which is definitely not COM compliant. This is a little BNC to SMA connector, jumper cable, which is perfect for this guy.
Yep.
$6, but I don't know. That might be riding the line a little bit.
Are those Canadian bucks?
Those are everything's in Canadian dollars, which is like probably half. Double the price that it would be as if it was a US price. Well, not that much, but yeah, Canadian dollars.
so.
And they
So a $6 item really would be closer to $3.
Like it. No, that's come for
closer
us.
to
It'd
12.
be more like $4, $4 American bucks, roughly. Or it used to be. I'm not sure what the exchange rate is now.
We'll have to leave this to Emile to figure out.
I'm too cheap to buy a calculator, so no.
No, you're going to need a calculator for this. This is 200 feet of, I believe it's 3/8 of Dacron line.
Squirrel resistant?
UV resistant. I don't know about squirrels. Definitely UV resistant, because I've been using some for my off-center fed dipole, and before that it was used for my G5 RV. and it's been up there probably 12 years and still looks as good as the day I put it up. So price on that was 18 cents a foot.
Well, the real question is Dacron or Dacron?
I say Dacron, you say Dacron.
All right, Mike, is that it?
Nope.
Oh,
I'm saving the best for last. That was the last thing in the segment, and it's this IoT kit.
Oh, yeah.
Proto board.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that interesting? You can see through the holes. And all the bits, including you have to put it together yourself. So I've got a little bit of soldering to do. $12.
Now that's the ES or the Node.
That's the Node MCU with the Bluetooth, or sorry, with the Wi-Fi. Oh no, sorry, it's the BLE built in. What is it? The 8466, I believe.
8266. I think.
8266.
Yeah,
Yes.
ESP 8266. Emile, I want to chip in here for him. I bought something similar at Hamvention this year, and I've been experimenting with it here lately. I paid a lot more for it than that. I paid too much for it, actually.
You're not going to be able to use the seal of approval.
Well, he doesn't know how much, though.
Well, I don't know. I think Mike can continue. The CCO says he can continue the show. So good job, Mike.
Thank you. I had you in mind when I was making the expenditures. And somewhere I kept the invoices, so if the accountant needs to verify the purchases, I'm sure I can find them.
Yes, please turn in all receipts, and we'll pass judgment.
Yeah. Well, nice haul, Mike. You got some good stuff there, and you didn't spend an arm and a leg on it.
No, I was actually quite surprised, especially with the small boards and the voltage converter module, because I have seen them, as you probably have, on some of the online shops like eBay and such, and they sell for pretty much the same price, but the difference being that it's going to take probably a month before you get it, whereas you can pick it up right there and away you go.
Yep, I bought some little OLED displays the other day, and it's going to be about a month before they arrive.
Yeah. You saw.
Yeah, do you remember the I drop shipped something to you, Tommy? Remember, I thought it was lost, and it showed up 2 months later or something like that.
Yep. A little real-time clock
unbelievable.
modules.
It wasn't real time, huh?
Real time. It was late time.
Real time RTC modules. That's right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Anyway, it was a lot of fun, and I always look forward to the Hamfest by the York Region Amateur Radio Club. They always do a fantastic job, and it's always well attended, as you can see from the video.
Oh yeah.
And I have a newfound respect for you and Tommy, and I don't know how you managed to shoot video footage at the Hamfest, because I'm sure you've been to Hamfest where it's wall-to-wall people, and
Dayton.
And it's just a challenge to get around, let alone try to shoot video.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you bringing that video back. I mean, I saw the photos of the crowd before you put this segment together, and I was thinking, man, he's not even going to be able to get close to the tables.
Yeah, looks like a nice Hamfest, and I wish some of ours had some of those little modules. I never see stuff like that.
Not here.
Ours. No, at Dayton there's a few things.
Oh yeah,
and
at Huntsville.
Maybe Huntsville, but the other ones, the smaller ones. Anyway, it didn't look like a huge Hamfest, but it looked like a nice sized one.
Yeah, you ran across something there, and you stopped on it and talked about it for just a second. That kind of caught my eye, and I had to go back and freeze a frame here in your video so we could look at it.
Oh, the Heath kit, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the nameplate. I think it says DGen on there. I'm not familiar with that, but some of the audio files might. I'm assuming, it's a respected, maker or brand of some kind.
It's actually a Heath kit. It is a kit, and I can't read what that says. I think it says
H-Strom.
Yeah.
Oh, Daystrom, yes.
I had one of these back when I was, I don't know, probably 16 or 17.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, a friend of mine had one that his brother had put together, and I bought it from him, and I used it for a number of years, and I wish I would have kept it, but I sold it to someone else. The tubes were a little bit microphonic in it, so if you bumped it, you could hear pings, But I really wish I would have kept this. It was a great little amplifier, and boy, talk about your classic piece of hi-fi gear kits. This was
what
nice.
they were
one
asking for that. I can't really see.
I think it said 140 on the tag.
Who?
And that, I'm assuming, is for the pair of them. There was the
tuner.
I think
too.
one was the tuner, and this is the amplifier / I'm assuming it has a preamp in it as well.
Yeah. I didn't have the tuner. All I had was the amplifier. But that was okay because I had another. This is before I could do a little bit of electronic stuff. I could solder connectors and stuff, but I couldn't troubleshoot. So I had this other off-brand receiver that the amplifier stage was bad in it, and I didn't know how to fix it. But I could come out of the tape output and run it into the Heathkit there, and I had me a stereo.
Good enough.
Good enough.
Works for me.
Yep. So, 140, I paid a whole lot less than that. But, some of this stuff got more expensive as it got older and rare to find.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand the Heathkits are sought after now. Of course, Heathkit not being in business for quite a number of years now.
Mm-hmm.
But anybody that's selling Heathkit gear, particularly gear that hasn't been built yet, the prices are astronomical.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The periodical you mentioned too, Michael, you passed by the table, the bi-monthly periodical.
Oh yes, the Canadian Amateur, or TCA magazine. It comes out every 2 months. It's from the Radio Amateurs of Canada. It's their kind of their own publication. It's similar to QST with the ARRL.
Okay.
But on a smaller scale. It's not nearly as big as QST, of course, but it's got some good articles in there. And it varies. There's contest results like there is in QST, and there's technical write-ups, and usually news about current band plans. And speaking of which, I don't have an email for it, but I understand the meetings are going on. I'm not sure. I think it's in Spain this year. And it looks like that Region 1 might get a 6-meter allocation, which is going to be great for them because they have 4 meters, but they don't have 6 meters.
Wow.
So they can work their neighbors too, huh?
They can buy it. Yeah, they can buy that amp and work all neighbors.
Hey, check this out. Chip posted this link. Check this Heathkit catalog out from 1969. There's your gear. But check this out. Checked out the fellow's name.
Yeah, I can't read it. Is it Nurse?
Yeah, it's Howard Nurse's father.
And Howard Nurse is the guy who came up with the idea and put the software together for the RigPi.
This.
Yep.
That was his father.
That's pretty. I thought that was interesting. I clicked on what he put over there and saw it. I thought it was kind of cool.
I kind of wanted one of those TVs, the kit TV, color TV, but it really wasn't that good a deal, I don't think. It was it wasn't like you were coming away with a bargain if you built your own TV, but
yeah,
it would be fun.
Yeah, it would.
Could you imagine the shipping cost on something like that?
Yeah, well, it wouldn't come Amazon Prime, that's for sure.
I just didn't remember they had all that stuff.
Oh yeah, I remember a lot of this stuff.
Look at the TV. Look at the TV. It's got a color picture. Look, it's moving. You see the tubes in it.
Yeah, well, maybe I should do it like that. I was wondering if this website got some kind of green screen effect to it. Look there. That's not a bad price for the antennas.
That's pretty awesome. I'm glad he posted that. I'm going to save this and look at it.
$350. When is that? 1960?
1969.
69.
Yeah.
That was a lot
that
of
was-
money
that
back
was
in
big bucks back then.
1969.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was. And right there, Emile, a cheap,
Oh, I like it.
low-cost solid-state organ.
It's only $439.
Yeah.
I should pull up the website that does the that does the conversion. What the dollars would be in $1969, just
Wow.
to see what it is. But I bet you can almost add a zero on the end.
Oh, yeah, probably so. Well, that's
Yeah.
pretty neat. This is,
That amplifier right there, the one, yeah. We had one of those. A guy I played in a band with had built it and had that amplifier right there. And it had a reverb built into it. A spring
Was
reverb.
it a reverb or was it just microphonic?
No, it had a spring reverb in it. And I bought it from him, and I took it to the AM station I was working at, and we managed to get it inserted in the line so that, in the audio chain there, so that we had reverb.
oh,
And it was amazing. We could rock that 1,000-watt AM in the 70s.
well, that's cool. Thanks for posting that, Chip.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Chip. That's neat. I'm gonna have to check that out.
It's in the chat room. See, if you're not in the chat room, this is one of the things you missed.
This is a half of the fun you were talking
Yeah,
about,
that's the
Emile.
half. Check that out.
Neat stuff.
Just curiosity, out of curiosity, George, how many pages in that catalog? It's bigger than. By the time I got into electronics and that, it was like in the early '80s, and the catalog from Heathkit was only about a dozen pages or so.
Control E.
But
will
that
do it?
one looks like there's a lot.
That.
Wow.
Do not adjust
like
your
a-
vertical or your horizontal.
Yeah.
That's like a Radio Shack catalog.
Look,
Yeah.
it's still going.
We'll go ahead and get to the bottom. We'll,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure people could look at that for very long. There's the end. I don't know if I can see how many pages it is, though.
Look at the top left there, Tommy. 116.
you
Oh,
want
yeah, I see.
you want to see
It's up.
something neat?
What? Oh, they had some nice color print.
Yeah.
George just
actually the neat
invented a
one over there.
teleprompter.
Pardon me?
You just invented a teleprompter.
Well, I kind of guess I did. Yeah. In a
Yes.
manner of speaking.
All the way back in 1969.
Wow. Okay. What are we doing next year? Well, Emile, I guess you should go ahead and tell them what it was that we accidentally both stumbled upon this month to talk about.
All right. Yeah, we must have been both trying to figure out where we are and where we're going, because I think both of us had a jaunt into the world of physics and relativity when it comes to GPS and ham radio.
Either that or you were both lost.
Yeah. Hi, George and Tommy. In this episode of Cheap Old Man Minutes, I wanted to take some time to talk about the global positioning system and ham radio. Well, you probably heard about or even used GPS and ham radio. How is it used in ham radio? Do you know how it works? Is it cheap old man compliant? And how can I use it? So how is it used in ham radio? Automatic Packet Reporting System, or the APRS, as you might know it. APRS-IS, DPRS, telemetry data. I've seen people use it for all three of those, and I'll give examples a little bit later. In the digital modulation modes out there today, you see it then integrated actually into D-Star, DMR, and C4FM over the repeaters and point-to-point and all sorts of ways. I've seen it used in high altitude balloon tracking projects where they'll put some location and telemetry data being sent back through APRS and other means, Whisper and tactical situational awareness. Ares, for instance, might have a group of hams that are organized enough to be tracking themselves, where they are, what their statuses are. All sorts of things can happen there for tactical and situational awareness using the integrated GPS systems that are in the radios or external to them, what have you. Of course, another one of the most important issues or items that it offers is time. In fact, it's based on time. You'll see a little bit more of that later. So how does it work? This is the most interesting thing. I learned some things just looking it up. On board the satellites, 24 GPS satellites, there are atomic clocks that keep time within 3 nanoseconds or 3 billionths of a second. The satellites send messages to your receivers in the L band, 1.574. You see the frequencies there in the L band. It sends multiple sets of information to your receivers and ground stations. The time, one of the most fascinating things I remember reading was that time on the satellites are actually adjusted for the theory of relativity because of their distance away from the mass of the Earth, because time does change based on, relative to mass. So that was a fascinating topic, and there's a lot of reading out there on the internet. It's published information, so check it out. Basically, your receiver, when it gets all of those sets of informations and decodes it, it does the physics, the math, geometry, using what's called trilateration, not triangulation, but trilateration, using all that information from at least 4 of the satellites to give you a 3-dimensional location, your location, in reference to where it is and where the satellites are and when they sent you the time packets. So lots of interesting stuff in there. Physics for us nerds to go read. Check it out. It was a fascinating topic. But that's the basics of how it works. So is it cheap old man compliant? Well, I looked it up, and with an annual operation cost of $750 million and initial implementation cost to put him in orbit of $2 billion, I'm just going to say no. But luckily for us, we don't have to do that part to be able to use it in ham radio. So there are some other cheap old man compliant aspects of the system. And speaking of some of those cheap old man compliant things, there's apps out there. On my Android, for instance, I have an app called the Grid Square Locator, which wherever you are is going to tell you what you're operating. Comes in handy for things like parks on the air or somewhere else you might be, if you're giving out your grid square for operating. And I also have the QRZ app on my phone, which if you look closely there, you'll see a bearing with distance from where people publish their QTH locations on. Now, in the app, it will actually calculate it based on your current location or your QTH either. That's a setting that you go set in the app. So lots of interesting dynamic uses of this. And last one is the APRS.FI site, which is lots of people using it to report whether it's their D-Star hotspots or links to repeaters or weather information or digipeters, repeaters, you name it. There's all sorts of information out there on APRS.FI or FI. So again, lots of neat things there, and I recommend you don't read the small print there because the apps are free. However, everything else that it takes to use them are not necessarily free. So, the theory of relativity for cheap old man compliance. Here's one of my favorites, and probably a lot of hams out there who might also be weather enthusiasts, as I call it. You can track your own weather station's data or other datas via the telemetry options available to the APRS protocol. I took an example here from the APRS.FI of a local ham in our area who basically publishes his information via APRS IS service. And if that ever is not available, that's the internet version basically of APRS. But if that's ever not available, this information can be sent over RF as well through local DigiPeters or point-to-point for that matter. So there's very interesting uses here if you've never looked into what's out there now, being either broadcast over RF or when the internet's available via those methods. So you can see the telemetry data here over time can be recorded as well using the internet there in APRS.FI. So interesting use there for the weather enthusiast crowd within the ham community. And of course, we can't forget about on the air, in the radios themselves, whether it's an HT that has a GPS receiver in it and uses the information and sends it out to other hams and radios over the air that can decode it. Or even in the case of that middle picture there, that's my Icom 9100's screen. I can manually input the data of location in there as well. And you can see there, depending on who's calling on the other side, you're going to get some heading information along with distance, which may help you point an antenna, let's say, for directivity, or make other adjustments that you think you might need to make in order to get that other station or whatever, what have you, or just knowing the information for that matter. So interesting ways to do it automatically or manually in certain cases if you don't have a GPS receiver in the radio or external to it. Most modern radios take the inputs from a GPS receiver, whether it's through an external port or if they're integrated like you see in the HTs. There are also some other uses of it where there's some group modes and monitoring features, and they'll have the abilities to see where other people are, whether they're in range or not, and the distance between the group of people. So lots of interesting things out there for using the GPS system in ham radio. And again, there's so much more information than what I covered here. I'm sure many more people have many more ideas. And chat room ought to be lighting up by now, I hope. But it's just made to be a primer or an intro to it. If you haven't thought about it down that line, check it out. It's awesome stuff, as usual. This hobby is fascinating. 7-3.
I've always liked to check on my ID51 when I'm talking to somebody on D-Star. It's always interesting to flip over there and see where they are, because most people on D-Star have a GPS on it. It's turned on. And you can see how far they are from you and everything. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, the most fascinating thing I've learned from that is just a little bit about the system and how it worked. Things like the satellites all having their own unique signatures so that the receivers know what they are. It's pre-published binary that they send. So it's really neat. And of course, the most fascinating thing is the time aspect. The time adjusted for their position away from mass, because time moves differently depending on how close it is to mass. And there's some fascinating stuff in there you can pick up. But I just wanted to throw that out there as premise of how GPS integrates into what we take for granted now.
Cool. And I didn't know that you were, you were working on that for this episode until we were chatting, what was it, 2 nights ago? And you said, well, mine's going to be on GPS. I said, wait a minute. Mine is on GPS as well, but it's a totally different take on it. So I think that the two segments will work pretty well together. We're going
to be able to tell if you guys be cheating off one another.
No, we hadn't. We talked about different stuff.
Okay.
So we'll look at mine here in just a minute. But first, have you got an email for us tonight, Tommy?
I do. No, not an email. I have one from the post, from the real mail.
The snail mail?
Yeah. I got one from our friend Rude. You remember he sent the email, actually it was an email back then about the quarter wave stubs that you did.
Yeah.
And about how he used 2 of them on his. But anyway, he's sent in several emails in the past. It says, hi, Tommy and George. I'm a big fan of your show on YouTube. Always nice content and good tips, especially how to use a Raspberry Pi in combination with our radio hobby. As you probably know, I sometimes react on some issues on your show. Last thing was the coax filter. I mentioned that it was better to use it with 2 tails. Then you could use it as a high pass filter or low pass filter or a band pass filter or a band stop filter. I want to say thank you for all your good work and time you put into the channel, and I'll do that to send you these 2 printed by me personalized Raspberry Pi keychain cases. And we sent these. Did you flip the other camera?
Oh, this is
and that one's for you.
Okay, cool.
So anyway, they got call signs. It's hard to see. Got the call signs.
Yeah, it doesn't come with a remote control.
It doesn't?
No, I don't think. Or a pair of mice. Or a RigPi.
So that's pretty cool. You can put a Raspberry Pi Zero in it and then put it on the keychain, take it with you. So I've actually got a Raspberry Pi Zero in my drawer that I haven't used, and I'll put that in there and put it in my computer bag to take.
Customized too.
Yeah.
Nice.
It says, with this case, you'll have the Pi with you, Pi always with you. When you program the Pi with the content on this link, that link, you can use it wherever you are. The only thing you need is a host computer. It doesn't matter if it's a Windows, Mac, or Linux machine. I use it with my logbook. I'm using CQR log on the Pi at home. When I have a field day, I simply plug my keychain Pi in a host computer and I'm done. It's a pity that we have a huge time difference, so I can't be live in your chat room during your show. Have fun with the keychain case. 73 Rude. Anyway, thanks a lot, man, for that. Really appreciate it. And I will definitely put mine in there when I get home and set it up. And I'm going to start taking it with me when I travel and put it in my... actually got a keychain hanging inside my bag with a few other things on it. And this will be perfect to go in there. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. This is neat. I was just thinking I need to do something with my Pi Zero.
Well, there you go. Now you got an opportunity.
And I can hang it right on my keychain, and I'll always remember that I need to do something with my Pi Zero.
Well, I'm gonna do mine.
Thanks, Rude.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Put it in my computer bag.
Huh?
Sir?
The name was Rude?
Yeah, R-U-U-D. He's in the Netherlands.
Okay,
I didn't say his call sign either. I'm sorry. I should have said this call sign. I think it's PA3RW. This call sign.
I also use the CQR log on my Ubuntu machine in the shack. That's good stuff. No kidding.
Cool.
Auto upload, auto track. I mean, wow.
I need to check it out. I haven't used that one yet. But that's pretty neat.
Well, Mike, have you got something to talk about tonight?
I have one piece of mail or news here, and it's about the Russian over-the-horizon radar, and the monitoring system over in Europe, IARU R1 monitoring system. was reporting that the Russian over-the-horizon radar container has been active in the 7, 10, 14, and 18 megahertz amateur radio allocations. And if I actually went back to, I think it was in a report that the ARRL had made back in October of 2016, and they announced at that time that the in Russia they were working on some of these newer over-the-horizon radar systems, and I think the first report that came out was that they were finding it on the 20-meter band, but now it's on, 7 megs, 10 megs, 14, and 18 megs. So I guess there's probably going to be some follow-up from the monitoring center, and seeing what's going on. But I don't know if apparently it's using some different. Obviously more technologically advanced than the old Russian woodpecker of the 70s and 80s. They mentioned the modulation techniques that they're using, and all I can tell you is I'm not familiar with them, and all I can tell you is that they're used in for radar. But it's pretty interesting to see, because I know there's been other incidents of other. I guess maybe you could call them pirates on the amateur bands, and now they've got the over-the-horizon radar that's causing interference as well now. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out.
Yeah. Well, that will be interesting to see. We're going to be back in just a moment, and I'm going to learn you a thing or two that you didn't know about GPS.
Some more.
Either that or I'm going to put you to sleep, one or the other. But if you'll just hang here for a minute, we'll get into that. But first, we need to get a message here from our friends at Icom. Wish it, wrap it, gift it. Step up your gift-giving game this year and get your favorite ham, the transceiver, at the top of their list. Icom offers a variety of high-performance and innovative products. Make the most of this holiday season with one of these Icom rigs today. 'Tis the season to give your favorite ham the SDR they really want, the IC7610. This high-performance SDR has the ability to pick out the faintest of signals, even in the presence of stronger adjacent signals. The IC7610 is a direct sampling software-defined radio that will change the world's definition of a SDR radio. RF direct sampling, 110 dB RMDR, independent dual receivers, and dual digicell. Ham for the holidays. The IC7300 is changing the way entry-level HF is designed. This high-performance, innovative HF transceiver with a compact design will far exceed your expectations. RF direct sampling, 15 discrete bandpass filters, large 4.3-inch color touchscreen, real-time spectrum scope, and SD memory card slot. The transceiver at the top of every ham's wish list this holiday season is the IC9700. Keep your competitive contesting edge with faster processors, higher input gain, higher display resolution, and a cleaner signal. Icom's IC9700 is the pinnacle of perfection. 4.3-inch color touchscreen TFT LCD, dual watch operation, and full duplex operation in satellite mode. Real-time, high-speed spectrum scope, and waterfall display. SD memory card slot for voice recording and playback. Support for CW, AM, FM, single sideband, RIDI, and D-Star DV and DD modes. Visit IcomAmerica.com/amateur for more information on all these great Icom radios. We appreciate Icom sponsoring AmateurLogic here. And, they also sponsor a lot of other activities in ham radio, and they enjoy being radioactive. And in addition to the various contests and radio activities that Icom does support and sponsor, Icom's a proud supporter of Youngsters on the Air, or YOTA. Mm-hmm. December is Region 1 and Region 2 YOTA activation. Work one or all of the YOTA stations in Region 1 and 2 and help create excitement about our wonderful hobby.
Go ahead.
And it's events.ham/yota.com.
And what's the dates for that again?
December.
Oh, it says December.
Yeah, cool. I guess it's a whole month. Youngsters on the air, and some places I hear it is youth on the air, but it's YOTA.
Oh, that's cool.
Either way you
Check
spell
that
it.
out.
Okay.
Yeah, they give a lot back to the ham radio hobby.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they really do.
They make great swag too.
They do.
Oh, they do. Yeah. Yep.
And they make good dog treats, although I don't think that was the intention, huh, Emile?
There must have been some in here. Tell you.
Oh, have they gotten any of your Icom hats yet?
Nope.
Not yet?
I figured they would go after like the plastic bottles, the drink bottles.
Uh-huh.
But just the hats, for whatever reason.
I think it's, you were probably eating ribs or something when you were wearing that hat. And,
I just see you thinking when I'm putting it on there with my barbecue stained hands, they're cleaning up that scent.
It's the only thing that makes sense.
It does make sense.
No, I don't know. Jocelyn, our friend KD8VRX up near Cincinnati said, it is all December on Yoda, and they're doing a big event there at VOA.
Yeah,
Voice of America. That the Voice of America Museum up, between, it's near Cincinnati.
Yeah, what is that, Mason?
I think it's Mason. Yeah. So that is the club, and that is going to be sponsoring a big Yoda event coming up. GPS. How accurate is GPS? I always heard that it wasn't right on the money.
Yeah, I think it used to be more accurate than it is.
You think?
Yeah, I remember a while back, I think the military maybe did something about they kind of decreased the accuracy of it.
Well, I happen to know where you can get more information on that subject.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, how timely.
By just sitting right here and watching and listening.
Staying awake.
Yeah, staying awake. Today we're going to talk a little bit about GPS and do a little decoding. When GPS was first put into service, the U.S. military was concerned about the possibility of enemy forces using the globally available GPS signal to guide their own weapon systems. Originally, the government thought the course acquisition signal would only give about 328 feet accuracy, but with improved receiver designs, the actual accuracy was around 65 to 100 feet. In March 1990, to avoid providing such unexpected accuracy, the CA signal transmitted on the L1 frequencies was deliberately degraded by offsetting its clock signal by a random number equivalent to about 100 meters in distance. This technique, known as selective availability, or SA for short, seriously degraded the usefulness of GPS signals for non-military users. More accurate guidance was possible for users of dual-frequency GPS receivers, which also receive the L2 frequency, but the L2 transmission, intended for military use, was encrypted and was only available to authorized users with the decryption keys. This presented a problem for civilian users who relied upon ground-based radio navigation systems like LORAN, VOR, or NDB, costing millions of dollars each year to maintain. The military received multiple requests from the FAA, the US Coast Guard, and the United States Department of Transportation to set SA aside to enable civilian users of GNSS, but the military remained steadfast in the objections on grounds of security. Through the early to mid-1980s, a number of agencies developed a solution to the SA problem. Since the SA signal was changed slowly, the effect of its offset on position was relatively fixed. If the offset was 300 feet to the east, that offset would be true over a relatively wide area. Using that method, accuracy could be improved to around 50 feet. Transmission delays in the ionosphere could also be measured and corrected for in the broadcast, offering an improvement to about 16.5 feet of accuracy. the US Coast Guard began developing DGPS, experimenting with the system on an ever wider basis through the mid-1980s and early 1990s. These signals are broadcast on marine long-wave frequencies and are fed into suitably equipped GPS receivers. Almost all major GPS vendors offer units with DGPS inputs, not only for the U.S. Coast Guard signals, but also aviation units for either VHF or commercial AM bands. The Coast Guard began sending out production-quality DGPS signals in 1996 and rapidly expanded the network to cover most of the U.S. ports of call, as well as St. Lawrence Seaway in partnership with the Canadian Coast Guard. In November 2013, the U.S. Coast Guard's national DGPS network consisted of 85 broadcast sites, which provide dual coverage to almost the entire U.S. coastline and inland navigable waterways, including Alaska, Hawaii, and Puerto Rico. The FAA and others started studying broadcasting the signal across the entire hemisphere from communication satellites in geostationary orbit. This led to the Wide Area Augmentation System, or WAAS, and similar systems. WAAS offers accuracy similar to the U.S. Coast Guard's ground-based DGPS network. By the mid-1990s, it was clear that the selective availability system was no longer useful for its intended role. DGPS rendered it ineffective over the U.S., and experience during the Gulf War demonstrated that the widespread use of civilian GPS receivers by U.S. forces meant that leaving SA turned on was thought to actually harm the U.S. more than it helped. After many years of pressure, it took an executive order by President Bill Clinton to get SA turned off permanently in 2000. By then, DGPS had evolved into a system for providing more accuracy than even a non-SA GPS signal could provide on its own. There are several other sources of error which share the same characteristics as SA in that they are the same over large areas and for reasonable amounts of time. These include the ionospheric effects mentioned earlier, as well as errors in the satellite position data and clock drift on the satellites. Depending on the amount of data being sent in the DGPS correction signal, correcting for these effects could reduce the errors significantly. The best implementations offer accuracies of under 4 inches. Due to the increasing accuracy of GPS, the Coast Guard no longer has a mission requirement for DGPS. GPS provides sufficient positional accuracy to meet international navigation requirements, and other commercial and government GPS augmentation systems are available. At the beginning of 2018, the U.S. Coast Guard had 38 DGPS stations remaining. The Coast Guard began discontinuing service from these stations in 2018, and the staged reduction of the remaining medium-frequency DGPS broadcast service sites will conclude in 2020. That means we don't have long to listen for these if we want to try to decode them. The station I'm going to try to decode is in English Turn, Louisiana. It transmits on 293 kilohertz, and I should just barely be within the coverage area of it. I can hear it on my transceiver, so let's plug it in and see what we get. There are several different programs that can decode DGPS signals. The one I'm going to use is called DSC Decoder. Now, it's not a free program. However, they do give you a 21-day free trial period to try the program out. So I'm on day 2 of my trial here. I'm just going to click no because I'm not going to register the program right now. And here we go. There's only a few things we need to do in here. First is look under options. We're going to choose DGPS. The rest of the options can be left as they are. We've got the button which will actually capture the signal here. We can record it or we can play back a signal. There are several options here for the display. We can look at a chart, which is really just a map. We can look at a message window, or we can look at a waterfall. There's also a display here that will let us see the waveform. We'll start it by clicking Start there. Now, there's 2 different baud rates. In the U.S., most of our DGPS is 200 baud, so that's what I've selected. You can see the waveform here. Let's look at the waterfall running from right to left. Now let's look at the messages. And they have started coming in. If we look right here at the top, there's our message right there. Station ID 029. Of course, we know that is English Turn Louisiana. We have a message type of 09. Occasionally we'll get an 06 or a different message there, but the majority of them are 09s. We have a time signal here of 45 point, well, that keeps incrementing, a sequence number, a length of the message, a health score, and a date and time. And this time here does seem to be in sync with the time on my computer. It should be similar to the TIM listed over here. Now, I'm not sure what just happened there. We've got an 053, Somerville, Texas, USA. We're getting some other ones in there. I'll have to look it up and see what that means. Perhaps there is more than one out there that I'm not familiar with. That is interesting, though. We'll check that out. I thought this one was on a different frequency, and yeah, it looks like it is on a different frequency. So, kind of surprised to see that pop up. It's the first time I've noticed that. Anyway, this is a software, how it decodes what we're seeing. I'm not going to try to interpret all of the stuff here, but we'll look at a few of the items and see if we can make sense of them. We can see that maybe these from Somerville, Texas are not exactly correct. The type is 00. The health is 5, which I don't think is good. So maybe that was some false decodes that we got there. That is one thing I read about, is you could have false decodes on some of this information. So there it is, DGPS, differential GPS correction signals.
I've heard through some rumors and some grapevines around that you might have some friends in high places when it comes to GPS.
Well, in a roundabout way, you know, I'm part owner in a business, and Tommy was part owner in it when we founded it. And the head office is in California, and my partner out there had a father who worked for the think tank that came up with the idea of GPS.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. Don't go away, because we have just a brief message here from the professor and dean.
At the end
Martin.
of each month, it's AmateurLogic's Ham College, the new show for those new to the hobby and those wanting to get into amateur radio.
Which of the following is a purpose of the amateur radio service as stated in the FCC rules and regulations?
That inductor and capacitor form a tuned circuit. That's how you tune the radio to the frequency that you want. The English language.
We lived in town. I liked it. I listened to mine a lot. It was really cool because you didn't have to have a battery to power it.
There's our homemade telegraph station. We can use it for long distance communications, 3 feet here.
Across the table. The answer is B. Voltage was named after Italian physicist Alessandro Volta.
We can see we're generating a little bit of electricity there. It's DC.
It's always great to go back and get a refresher.
It sure is.
A lot of that stuff, if you've been a ham for a while like we have, you don't really think about a lot of that stuff that often.
They didn't have electric screwdrivers in those days, so that's why we're not using one.
That's why we went primitive with it.
Yeah. So let's see if we can hear anything when we fire off our spark gap transmitter.
Oh yeah.
Well, we didn't build anything or blow up anything today, but
the night's still young. You know, I still hadn't got the hair to grow back on my arm from that spark gap transmitter you made.
yeah, I think it affected my eyesight a little bit too.
It's like looking at welding.
Yeah. Well, as we mentioned, we've got a RigPi Station Server to give away here tonight. The MFJ-1234. We're giving away one here that is fully populated. In other words, it has the Raspberry Pi in it. It has the audio board, and it's got the keyer board in it. So maxed out with all the goodies. You don't have to. First, what is a RigPi Station Server, Tommy?
Well, it's a pretty cool device that you can hook up to your rig, and you can use your rig kind of like you're at home, but you can use it using your mobile device from somewhere remotely.
So you just plug this into your rig and plug it in the internet, and you're set to go, huh?
Yep. Yeah, I hooked mine up on the Wi-Fi. But yeah, that's basically it. And if you're using one of the newer Icom rigs, you just basically hook it up to one of the USB cables. That's about all you've got to do.
If you've got a rig doesn't have USB audio drivers
then
for
we can handle that too.
just standard audio.
Yep. Pretty straight audio cables. It's pretty simple.
Okay. And these are available from MFJ. It's MFJ-1234. They come with the Raspberry Pi in it. It also has the firmware that you need and the operating system and all already installed. There is a keyer board in it, and there is an audio board, but you don't have to get all the boards if you don't want them. If you're not going to use a keyer, you might not want to add that to it. So choose your own medicine there, whatever you think you need for remote operation, and hook this jewel up. Grab your cell phone, make a QSO.
Yeah, it is pretty easy to set up. I did a segment on that, was it last month, I think?
Yeah, you did.
On how to set it up for one of the Icom rigs, but the others are very similar. There's a quick start guide that comes with it.
Oh, yeah. And it was fairly simple to set up. A couple of ports you'll want to forward there in your router, but that's really the hardest part of it.
Yeah.
So that's not difficult, and you gave us the tips on how to do that as well.
Yeah, pretty easy to do.
So we announced a contest, and we put up a link, and you could go there and get the details on how to register. And we had a lot of folks register to win this, because who wouldn't want it?
Yeah, absolutely.
A great accessory for your shack, and puts it in the palm of your hand. We got a lucky winner. We did a drawing right before showtime tonight.
We do.
Who have we got there, Tommy?
Well, the lucky winner is Bruce Lord, K6WKB. Congratulations, Bruce. He's an extra class license.
Congratulations, Bruce. What part of the country is he in?
He's from Corona, California.
Okay. Well, you're going to enjoy this, I'm sure. And MFJ will be shipping it right out to you. And by the way, they have had trouble keeping stock on these, but they have stock now.
Yeah, they've been really hot items. I've seen a lot of buzz on the internet about them.
Yeah. So it's really a game changer for remote operation. It's a better price point than anything that's come along before, and really a no-brainer. It works real easy.
Yeah, it works with most any rig for the most part.
Yeah. And as we mentioned earlier, Howard Nurse, and you showed us, the photo there that his father was president of Heathkit for a long time. Howard grew up in that environment back when Heathkit was first coming out with the computers and all of that stuff.
Yeah, really sharp guy.
Yeah.
Very sharp.
Yeah.
Good programmer.
Yeah, he spent a lot of time on this too, and it's paid off.
Yeah, we did an interview with Howard when he was first coming up with the idea for the RigPi. That was back at the MFJ 45th anniversary thing. So look that up on the wiki page if you want to go check that out.
A
little bit about Howard.
And we've been planning to have him here on the show. I don't know, for whatever reason, we hadn't got around to it yet. But we'll have Howard on here one night, because he is a really interesting guy. He's got a lot of great stories too. And he can tell us more about this and how he came up with an idea and brought it to fruition.
Yeah, we should do that soon.
Yeah. Speaking of an idea, I see you've got one there on your shirt.
I do.
It's the AmateurLogic brainwave shirt, or I don't know.
I'll call it my brain bucket shirt. I'm not sure what.
Yeah.
Anyway, but this is one of the logos submitted by one of the viewers, actually quite a while back, and I'm ashamed to say it took me so long to get them onto the on
Yeah.
the T-shirts, but they are there now.
Yeah, well, when he sent that one, we didn't have any T-shirts.
Yeah.
And we were running around naked, but, we appreciate
Yeah, so maybe he took the hint.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, we appreciate that. And this one I'm wearing is the standard issue AmateurLogic.TV logo, the official one. And we've got it on some mugs here as well.
We
in
do?
2 or 3 different
Yeah,
colors.
the camera up there.
You mean this camera?
Yeah, we got two-sided ones. We've got some Ham College mugs, and we've got some AmateurLogic mugs, and we've got some that have both on it. If you watch both shows.
Mm-hmm.
Where can we go to get mugged?
Well, that is a excellent question there. And we have the perfect answer for you, too.
It's funny you asked.
Yeah.
You can go to AmateurLogic.spreadshirt.com. We've got caps. You can get some for your Warmer-aimers.
Yeah.
I hear they love them. T-shirts, golf shirts, jackets, backpacks. We got some Ham College swag on there as well. By popular request, we've got the Ham College VE shirts.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the A-Node rules ball caps on there.
For Ham College?
Yeah, Mike's request. A lot of good stuff on there. Go check it out. You might find something you like.
Yeah, one site there, AmateurLogic.spreadshirt.com. You can get mugged and feed your dogs at the same time. I don't know. That about sums it up. Well, it's been a fun show tonight here. And throughout the month, if you want to get in contact with us, we've got a few social sites that you can visit. What are they, Emile?
Well, I'm thinking one of them is the Facebook.com groups, AmateurLogic.TV. That's just a hoot, and lots of people posting pictures and funnies and articles. There's always something happening over there.
Yeah, and if you wanted to follow us like a stalker or something, or maybe not,
Yeah. Well, we're on Twitter. We've got at AmateurLogic on Twitter. We also have at Ham College.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, you can follow us there. We don't post a lot, but sometimes we do post when we're going to have these live streams for sure.
And there is also another group service that we've added here in the last few months. Mike, can you tell us about that?
I can't read it, but it's Groups.io.
Groups?
And ever since Google Plus decided to pull the plug, people have been hanging out over on Groups.io.
Yeah, groups.io/G/AmateurLogic.
Yep.
And we've also got a wiki in case you want to see what we've talked about in the past. Our friend Dan, N9LVS, does that for us. AmateurLogic.TV/wiki.
Yep.
Get your show notes right there.
Yeah, so if you're looking up something like the MFJ 45th anniversary episode that I was talking about, you can find it on there.
Mm-hmm. If you wanted to watch AmateurLogic, where could you do
and you
it?
must want to watch it because we're talking to you.
Yeah. Well, you could download it.
You could download
and watch it that way. You could watch it live.
You can.
On YouTube.
Yeah. We're on the Roku.
Yep.
We're on Apple, what is it? iTunes.
iTunes.
Yeah,
Yep.
I almost forgot. We're on, where are we? Also, the audio version is over on Google Play. And recently we're on Amazon, the Amazon Fire TV stuff.
Yeah.
It's almost Thanksgiving here in the U.S., so everybody, I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. Spend some time with your family and be safe. We'll see you for Ham College at the end of the month.
Yep. And we'll be back here. Wow, it'll be the Christmas show.
Yeah.
Next on AmateurLogic here. I don't know. We hadn't been working on anything special yet. I don't
About
know.
time to get busy.
We'll have to see what comes up.
Maybe Santa bring us something.
Yeah. Maybe so.
We'll have to synchronize so that we don't work on the same things, maybe.
Well, yeah, or maybe Santa needs a GPS for the old sleigh there.
Well, this was the GPS Spectacular, so
Yeah. All right. Again, thanks, Mike. Always great to see you, and we hope that you'll be back with us on here again soon.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure, Mike.
All right.
And Emile.
And Emile. All right. 7-3, guys.
7-3.
Yep, 7-3.